And the fourth and final study, the video of positional evaluation, comes from a subscriber game. I had a handful of volunteers for this course. I dug through many, many games, and I tried to select a lot of different drills, and I tried to select exercises and concepts to be from some of those games. My neck is very stiff, been sitting here recording for a while. So once again, let's pause here and try to figure out who's better and why. And I'll let you think, and I will take a sip from the flower vase. So, white is better. Would I say winning? Not necessarily. Black actually does have some threat. Black has a threat, like for instance, knight takes, pawn takes, and queen e5. I mean, that does win a pawn. You just go back to this position. Why is white better? So, material is equal. Material's been equal throughout these exercises. I've tried to make it not equal throughout the analysis. I've tried to show that, like in the Magnus example, being up 8 points of material doesn't always matter. Material and king safety by far the biggest. Material is equal. King safety may look about equal to you, but again, I'm telling you, think of how your opponent can get to your king and think how you can get to their king. There is no way at all for these pieces to get to this white king. There's no way. I mean, it's not possible. There are many ways to get to the black king. Look at this. It just takes 2 moves. So when you have a situation like that, when you can actually create serious problems, I would say that black's king is definitely weaker. Now, piece activity and future prospects of the pieces, yeah, white's pieces are definitely more active. The queen is attacking the more important squares. The knight is a bit more, commanding in the center of the board. But if I picked up this position here, it's only a slight edge to white. That knight trading off for black's super passive knight is a big improvement. And this bishop is very passive, make no mistake. White still has an edge in the piece department, but black is catching up. So white has a small edge in the piece department. And I mean, you can't really compare the pawns, can you? The space, the pawns. White has 3 pieces in the center, 3 pawns rather in the center. Black doesn't have anything. All kind of a 6th rank position, very passive. White has a lot more space. White controls a lot of squares on the opponent's side of the board. White, oops, sorry, I was gonna draw an arrow, not play a move. White sees a lot of different squares in the opponent's camp. So white wins in 3 criteria, right? White is doing a nice job here, and I think the evaluation here, if white plays the top engine line, which is f4, is +2, +2.5. Otherwise, it's just +1.5. It's over +1, but it's definitely better. Having said that, if you played a move like this and then traded queens as well, it would be about +0.5. Why? Because you still have a bit more space, and you can argue your pieces are a bit better, but you might lose a pawn. And let's say if you don't lose that pawn, well, black is not going to sit here forever. I mean, black is going to kick you out and then, activate the bishop or trade it off or break with a pawn. Or it's very easy in chess to just very quickly go from okay to just worse. So when we're talking about being better, we have to prove it. In the game, white went b4, which kind of loses a pawn, sort of, but not really. I don't know if white saw this or got lucky. So there is a way here to trap the queen. The queen gets caught with its hand in the cookie jar. Again, I'm hoping that white saw this, but if you never saw it, then it's not good. If you never saw that, then the move b4 lost the pawn. So you force black's queen back. Now again, we pick up the position again. In this situation, the queen is very passive. White has even more space. I would not be the one making the exchanges. If anything, I would once again urge you to take space, defend your center, and try to make trades that open up your pieces and improve your pieces. That's chapter 8 and 9, piece utilization and piece trades, okay? You don't always want to be the one making the trades right away. In this game, we go to chapter 11, which is sacrificing, and white thinks that their position is so strong that they target a square with a piece on it that only has a king defending it and sacrifice a full knight. You only want to sacrifice a full knight or more if you are finding a concrete, meaning exact solution or set of moves to follow up that either win you back the material and more or win you the game. Okay, that's we'll learn that in chapter 11. But in this game, white doesn't just have an attack, you know, in air quotes. White has more. White could have played queen h5 check, forcing the king here, or g6, and then the attack continues. But these three pieces are very, very, very powerful. And, you know, if white had a rook on e3, it would just be game over. But, you know, maybe white in this position would play knight g5 and bishop g6. But in the game, white went even more crazy. Knight g5 straight away. A check. You're down material. So you got to hunt the king. You're down material. You don't hunt the king. Person trades pieces. Best example I can give you. Completely ridiculous example, but just bear with me. Let's just say white doesn't know how to attack at all and waits a little bit too long. And now this is the position. Whose king is safer? White's king, but does white actually have any tangible threats on black's king? Yeah, I mean, I see a check and I see a way to infiltrate, but I think black will be able to defend it. I think black's doing very well. Black just has a full extra bishop. White has what's called compensation, so white is not completely lost. But why do this, right? Well, white understands that since they sacrifice, they have to attack. Knight to g5 check right now. Black has all these pieces. All of them have to react. Not all of them, but rather the black position has to react to the knight, though. Pawn takes g5. If bishop takes g5, then hg. And now the best move for black would have been queen f4, which is a very hard move to play. To realize that you allow this, but you're actually safe. If you want to successfully sacrifice in chess and attack a king, I would recommend 2 more attacking pieces than defenders. In this case, you do not have that, because if you do something like this, I will get my knight, then I will get my rook, I might get my bishop, my queen is defending. You just don't have enough. But what you're going to notice in this game is white does get enough because black, the king is just wide open, just ready to be bullied. Now, did white even need to do any of this? No. No, white was better. White decided to take a risk to get high reward. They could have been punished. But defense is hard. Defending in chess is extremely hard. And you know what I will say is that if you do all of this and you analyze your game and the computer shows one miracle move for your opponent to save everything, you got to realize it's not practical. If you made it so that 98% of your opponent's options were losing and 2% were winning, you did a good job. Right now, white is down 2 knights. Because white is mercilessly hunting the black king, bishop g6, 3 pieces, but you win the rook and you get a position that looks like this, it's worth it, right? Like the material investment has paid off. The king is being hunted, but you have to find the best move here. The king is defending everything. White to move and pry apart black's defenses. If you don't find the move, you're not actually winning. The move is king guards bishop, pawn takes pawn. Check, king takes, and the queen takes this, and the king is just alone, completely alone, and material balance has actually been restored, which is what happens in the game. In the game, black goes here, loses the bishop, and white could have taken with check. White could have played that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Knight and bishop for a rook. But again, knight and bishop are 6, a rook is 5, black is up 1 point. Where is the 1 point? Can you see this rook hasn't even moved. These 2 pieces have literally not moved this entire game. Are they really worth their full value? The knight can't move because of the queen pin. So white now transfers the pieces over, rook h3. Now black is trying to get the pieces there, but g3. If white does not find the move g3 here, if white just goes crazy, doesn't find the move g3, doesn't take on h4, white will be worse. Absolutely. Absolutely. And by the way, you'll learn later throughout the course, like queen trade, for instance, you know? If there was some way to trade the queens here, Like, let's just say queen d6, this is, or queen c5, queen f5, boom, boom. And okay, I mean, even with the inclusion of something like rook h4, the white's advantage is nearly gone. Material is equal. It's rook and pawn for knight and bishop, but there is no advantage here. The king is safe. It's all about whether or not you can actually attack the king. This entire game was based upon king safety. Rook h3, very nice move. g3 here, attacking the queen and the pawn. Can't take because you're pinned. Black blunders the queen, and now white is winning in material and in king safety because black's pieces are never going to get to white's king, and black resigned a few moves later in this position as everything was falling apart. King is weak, horrible material disadvantage, and they resigned. And that's it. I mean, we've learned a handful of situations where a side is better and why, how you prove your advantage and why, and losing your advantage and how that happens, whether it's material, whether an attack gets extinguished, or whether you're better but then you get under attack. All of this is important, not for quizzes. I mean, there are quizzes and there are drills in this chapter for getting you to understand who has a better position, but it's to gauge how you play a game. You play differently. Obviously, you should always look for the best moves, but you need to play differently in certain situations depending on what the evaluation is and what the position demands. Sometimes you're losing. You gotta defend. You gotta defend. You can't just always play for a win, right? And sometimes when you're attacking, you gotta strike now. You gotta act fast. Like you saw Jose Martinez did against me in study number 3. You gotta anticipate what your opponent's gonna want to do as well to improve their position and how to stop that. All of this is important. And it's very important to understand whose position is better, why, what it means, and what both sides want as the game progresses.